Are you ready, Mr. White?
No, sir. Actually, I've got some questions.
What's the question?
Okay, number one, I'm scheduled, according to my paperwork, to be in Ms. Shackelford's courtroom. Furthermore, I have motions that have not been heard. One of them was heard partially. I put this in the court record already. I filed a complaint on this, Judge. I don't even understand what's going on here.
Well, apparently because you filed a complaint, judge said I better get out of here.
Okay, well,
So
that's
you
what
won that one. You won one so far.
Okay,
What's
so
your motion to dismiss?
Sir, what I'm saying is I'm scheduled right now to be in Judge Shackelford's room, okay, or courtroom, okay? And only one of my motions, I filed two motions. Actually,
what was your first motion?
Motion dismissed for failure to state a cause of action for which relief may be granted. And it's pertaining to Article 1, Clause 9 of the U.S. Constitution making this unconstitutional. All right, my second motion concerning Walker v. Campbell v. Walker, all right? They didn't even respond to that one at all. The first one they didn't respond to it about halfway. All right, so my motions haven't even been heard yet.
Well, tell me what your first one is. I'll hear it right now.
And Your Honor, just for the record, I will indicate when we were in front of the court last time, Mr. White indicated he had filed a number of motions with the court and that he was directed to serve those on my office. He said that he would send them by certified mail. My office never received anything. So the two motions that I did respond to were the only two that were in our file. If there are additional motions or complaints that he has filed, I know he keeps referencing a complaint that he's made against Mr. Greco. That's not anything my office has ever received, and so we're not in a position to respond to things that we haven't seen. Okay,
they originally had my motions and they lost them, okay, because so much they kept canceling every time I came to court. Officer didn't show up 3 times.
Who's Mr. Greco?
I guess he's the prosecutor. I've never seen him.
Yes, Your Honor, Dave Greco from my office. He's the normal prosecutor on this docket.
They had lost my.
Wait, you filed a motion against Mr. Greco.
I filed a complaint against Mr. Greco.
Okay, he's not here, so that's gone. Right? He's not here.
Okay, so what's going on here? You say that's
well,
gone.
You must have won. You filed a complaint against Mr. Greco. Mr. Greco didn't show up today. I guess you won. What's your complaint against Mr. Greco?
Malicious prosecution.
Do you want him to be? Do you want him in this case or out?
I would prefer him not be in this case.
Okay, he's not in this case.
Okay, sir, you're kind of missing my point here. With all due respect, all right, I don't mean to disrespect you, sir. I know better. I'm not quite that dumb. What I'm getting at is, when I was here last time, I was here to hear my motions. There was 3 of them altogether: motion for discovery and 2 motions to dismiss. They lost the paperwork. They lost the motions. So they asked me to send in copies, and I was going to, until I thought, wait a minute, they've not responded in the time that they're supposed to respond in. I'm not going to help them prosecute me.
And Your Honor, I would indicate for the record, I never said that we lost. I said that we did not receive the motions. Those are, and the transcript will be clear on that point. I did not indicate that we lost the motions. We did receive, though, like I said, there were 2 in the file, and I responded to those 2. And Mr. White did say on the record in the courtroom that he would serve whatever there was additional complaints and motions that were not served on my office. And so
you're using a lot of the court's time, and listen to me. You're using up a lot of the court's time. I'm not going to decide whether it was lost or not received, but I will give you an opportunity to argue whatever the motion was.
Okay, well, there's 2 of them.
What's the first one?
Boy. First of all, there was a motion for discovery. Okay. What I received from her was in the mail. I didn't argue this in court. I've never been here to discuss my motions with anybody. I received something from her in the mail after the stuff just come up missing or whatever. All right. So
hang on, counselor. Let him finish.
So what I got in the mail was on the motion to dismiss was I'm not entitled to it. Well, my argument to that is basically is that it denies procedural due process.
Well, let me ask you this. What do you want to discover?
I FOIA, and I've got all the paperwork.
Come on now,
FOIA,
Mr. White,
sir.
let's not waste time. What do you want
I'm trying to tell you
discover?
now. Unredacted body cam, dash cam, rear cam. What I get from them is pretty redacted, okay? And then also complaints on the officer for any complaints on the officer for the same thing I filed a complaint on him for, lying. I have proof of that, Your Honor. I have absolute proof.
Proof of what?
Proof of him lying. Okay, I filed a complaint on him for what he did that day, issuing this ticket in the whole 9 yards. What I'm saying is,
Mr. White, any complaints against the police officer, the chief of police and whatever will hear
Yes, sir.
them. That's not what I'm here for.
I
I'm here
understand.
for one thing.
I understand.
Did you violate the statute or not?
No, I didn't. No, I didn't.
Okay, hang on.
Go ahead.
We're gonna have a trial and I'm gonna make that decision, okay?
So what you want to hear is my.
I don't want
motion.
you, I don't want you to make the decision. I don't want,
Sir, I
counselor to
understand.
make a
You
decision.
asked me what I was wanting to, FOIA, or I mean, my, for my, motion for discovery. One of them was complaints on for light things, any complaints on the officer. I wasn't given that. Okay, and then body cam, dash cam, rear cam was so redacted, it was ridiculous.
Jeff,
Yeah.
case law, that's a statute. So if he's gonna rule on whether or not you violate a statute, you've got the Supreme Court case law. And validate.
Yeah, and that's another thing, that motion right
Well,
there.
hang on now, hang on. Let's do one motion at a time. I am gonna deny your first motion that, whatever, violation that the police officer may have had.
No, sir, my first.
Mr.
motion-
White, I'm gonna make a ruling. I want you to listen to the ruling. If you don't like it, you can appeal it to the circuit court. But in the meantime, I'm making a ruling. And my ruling is that your motion with regard to any of this matters with the police officer.
That's not my motion. That was
I
discovered.
want you, what's your, first motion?
My first motion was for discovery.
That's denied.
Okay.
Okay, now,
My
what's your
motion-
second motion?
My motion to dismiss because Article 1, Clause 9 makes a bill of attainder illegal in the US.
What's a bill of attainder?
It deprives life without due process of law, without due process.
What do you consider due process?
Okay, due process is the 4th, 5th, and 6th Amendments of the US Constitution.
What do you
And-
consider satisfying due process?
Well, there's a few things.
I
Number
just
one-
want to know what you
I
want.
understand, sir. I'm trying to explain the best I can. Number one, I have a right to a trial by a jury of my peers. I have a right to an attorney. And if none of that, sir, just the fact that this is over $20 via the 7th Amendment, I have a right to a trial by jury. This is a $165 ticket. And I've been saying all along, I want a trial by jury.
Proper jurisdiction, proper oaths. Proper jurisdiction, proper.
Okay, first thing I tell you is don't listen to anybody that hasn't graduated from Harvard Law School. If they stand up in the audience and they tell you something, you can bet it's wrong, okay? Because he probably hasn't, unless he's got a degree from Harvard Law. Now, your second motion is to dismiss based on the Constitution and the due process rights. Under the state law of the state of Michigan, if you're given a civil citation, you don't have a right to a jury trial. And that's not in violation of the United States Constitution. So,
Would that be a violation of the 7th Amendment?
and I am going to give you due process today. And I'm going to let you cross-examine any witnesses that might be called against
Absolutely,
you.
I'm ready.
And I'm going to give you an opportunity to testify on your own behalf. So we are going to satisfy due process. In the meantime, I will deny the motion, though, since the Michigan law does not allow a jury trial in civil infraction. Okay?
Okay, my second motion was for Go ahead, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. You want to hear the second
Well,
one?
wait a second. I've already done 1 and 2.
Right, and I have, that's what I'm saying, she never responded to this one at all. It concerned Walker v. Campbell. A traveler on foot has
So
the
you
same
got a
right.
third motion.
Yes, sir.
What's your third motion?
Walker v. Campbell, case law. All
What's
right?
Walker say?
A traveler on foot has the same right to use the public highways and roadways as any other automobile or vehicle.
Okay.
This
So what's your
officer
point?
claiming he sat and watched me running the road. It did not happen, but even if it did, I have the right to use the roadway according to Walker v. Campbell.
Okay, so you're saying it didn't happen.
It did not happen,
And
absolutely not.
if it
And I
did
can prove-
happen, you have a right to use the roadway.
Yes,
And did anybody have a right to stop you from using the roadway?
no,
That's right. Nobody has a right to impede you in using the roadway, nor do you have any right to impede anybody
Exactly.
else.
exactly.
So therefore, it's not a question of use, but whether it's a misuse of the public highway. I'm gonna deny your third motion.
Sir,
What?
I did not step in the roadway, and even if I did,
No, that's not what I
I
said.
see what this is,
I
okay?
said, the idea that you can use the roadway and impede other people is not protected under Walker. The idea that you can use the roadway may be fine.
I haven't impeded anybody.
That's what we're trying.
Okay, let's get it.
Okay,
Okay, number one, I have some questions for you, if you don't mind.
a question.
Yeah. Is this a court of law or is it a court of equity?
Yeah, actually, I have jurisdiction in both law and equity in certain cases,
Okay,
mainly a court of law.
okay. In this particular proceeding, are you operating as a court of law or a court of equity?
Law.
Okay. Can you produce a victim?
That's what she's gonna do.
She's gonna produce a victim.
She's gonna produce a police officer.
He's the victim.
Or any police officer, anybody in the city of Taylor could be a victim.
Okay, first of all, I want to object for the record for a few reasons. Number one, my motions weren't properly heard. Number two, the officer can't be the victim. This is a civil matter. You're hearing it in the criminal court. I don't get none of this, but we're gonna move on, all right? So yeah, I'm ready to talk to this officer.
Okay. Have a seat, sir.
Together.
Okay,
He's entitled to counsel, so we're not allowing him to counsel, all right?
call your first witness.
Thank you, Your Honor. The people call Officer Andrew Borg.
Officer, you want to raise your right hand? You solemnly swear testimony you're about to give us true self, you got.
I do.
Go ahead, Counselor.
Your Honor, for sort of practical purposes, typically it would be at the podium, but since the officer's on Zoom, is the court okay if I'm at council table, or would you like me at the podium to question the officer?
You can do either one.
Officer Borg, can you state your name for the record, please?
Officer Borg?
Are you employed?
Yes.
Where are you employed?
The
I'm sorry, officer, you cut out. Can you repeat your answer?
I'm employed with the city of Taylor.
What do you do there?
I'm a police officer.
How long have you been so employed?
Almost 4.5 years.
Are you assigned to a specific unit within the police department?
Yes, the road patrol.
Were you on duty the morning of December 28th of 2022?
Yes.
At approximately 10:47 a.m., what was your location?
Near the area, Eureka 5.
And at Eureka and I-75, is that a location within the city of Taylor?
Yes.
At the date, time, and location that we've been discussing, did you see something that caught your attention?
Yes.
What was that?
I observed Mr. White standing at the exit ramp from southbound I-75 to
And what was the
I'm
due?
sorry, I didn't catch most of that, Counselor.
I apologize. Officer Board, can you repeat your answer for the court?
I observed Mr. White standing at the exit ramp of southbound I-75 to the road.
Okay.
Good, Your Honor. And what did you observe the person doing at that location, officer?
It appeared Mr. White was standing on the roadway handling for money.
Cut out a lot.
Officer, I apologize, your internet connection is cutting out a little bit. Could you repeat that answer for the judge?
I observed Mr. White standing on the roadway. He appeared to be handling for money.
Was the last part of your answer panhandling for money, officer?
Yes.
What did you observe specifically that led you to believe that he was panhandling for money?
He was holding a sign that had some writing on it. And he was waiting at the intersection.
Do you recall where specifically at the intersection this person was stationed?
He was right on the right shoulder of the exit ramp, approximately 20 feet north of the sidewalk.
Officer, from what you can see on your screen on Zoom, are you able to see the entire courtroom?
I can just see the judge.
Okay. Your Honor, is it possible, I was gonna ask the officer to identify the person that he saw. Is there a way that we can change his view on Zoom so that he can see the courtroom?
Could you stand up here for a minute, show him your face?
Where am I standing? Right here.
I'm not sure where the camera is. Officer Scott, can you tell me where the camera is so that he can be?
Actually, step back here. This way.
Yes, that's Mr. White.
Okay, can you identify what Mr. White is wearing for the record?
He's wearing a blue button-down shirt.
Thank you, officer. Your Honor, let the record reflect that the officer has identified the defendant in this manner.
It'll be noted.
What about what Mr. White was doing caught your attention, Officer Ward?
I observed Mr. White attempt to take money from a vehicle while the light was green, which prevented traffic from moving.
Was this a vehicle that was on the exit ramp roadway at exiting off of I-75 near Eureka Road?
Yes.
And at the time that you observed Mr. White accepting money from a vehicle, the light was green?
Yes.
Meaning that the vehicle that he was taking the money from should have been traveling in traffic?
Yes.
Officer Board, do you recall approximately how heavy the flow of traffic was at this date, time, and location?
I don't recall the exact amount of traffic.
Do you recall approximately how long that vehicle that Mr. White was taking the money from was delayed in the flow of traffic?
Approximately a few seconds.
I have nothing further for this officer.
Okay, Mr. White, do you have any questions of this police officer?
Yes, sir, I have a whole bunch.
Okay.
All right. This goes to motive, pattern, and practice in my assertion of harassment. This isn't the first incident I've had with this officer. The first one took place.
Objection form. It appears that the defendant's
Okay,
testifying.
Mr.
rather
White,
than asking officer
Mr.
questions.
White, this is the time when,
Okay.
listen to me. This is the time when you ask him
Yes, sir.
a question,
Yes, sir.
not make statements. I want you to ask
Officer
a
Boyd,
question.
you recall what you said to me in our first encounter, which took place in the southbound exit ramp onto North Line Drive in Southgate.
I do not.
Does this ring a bell? We got a call about you, so I need to see your ID.
What incident are we talking about?
Our first encounter in Southgate, onto North Line, 75 South on the North Line.
Your Honor, I'm just gonna object. I'm not sure if we're talking about the date that this incident happened or some other date and time.
Is this got anything to do with, December the
No, sir.
28th?
That's why I was trying to tell you that this isn't the first encounter, and this goes to to motive, pattern of practice, and my assertion of harassment.
Then, Your
There's a
Honor,
few
I would
questions.
Hang on, Counselor, hang on, let him finish. I'm sorry.
This
Why-
goes
why
to
would I
motive,
listen?
pattern of practice, and my assertion of harassment.
Assuming that he did harass you 100 times. Listen to me now.
Okay.
But on December the 28th, in fact, you violated the law.
Oh, sorry.
Does that make any difference the other 100 times?
If it was this officer making the claim, absolutely.
No, it
Particularly when
doesn't.
it's.
On the 28th, what happened?
Okay,
Okay, so let's move on.
Thank you.
Ask him about December the 28th.
okay. The following, okay. Officer Board, do you recall what you said to me when you first pulled up beside me in this manner? Do you recall what you said to me when you first pulled up to me?
I don't recall the exact.
There's
Dave.
body cam, dash cam right here.
Okay.
Okay, he doesn't recall, but in a few minutes, I'm gonna give you an opportunity to testify and you can tell me what he said.
Okay. So you don't recall, sir?
Objection asked and answered.
Don't worry about it, Counselor.
I'm
Go
sorry,
ahead.
I didn't hear you.
I objected because you just asked him that question.
That was pertaining to the first incident.
No, Mr. White, she's just wasting the court's time too. I want you to go on and ask your next question.
Officer Borg, do you recall what you first said to me? I'm sorry. At any point during this encounter, did you mute your mic?
Objection relevant to your Honor.
I'm sorry, I didn't understand the question.
At any point during this encounter, did he mute his mic?
I'll
No.
take that answer. No,
Does video and or audio recording begin prior to activation?
afraid I don't understand. You mean before he activated his?
Your Honor, it's my understanding that some body cam, dash cam, rear cams will record. Once you click it on, activate it, it records 30 seconds prior to. Now, I'm
Yes,
not a real technical person. Go ahead, sir.
Go ahead, Mr. Borg.
It records only video a minute prior to activation, not audio.
Okay, all right, thank you. Does the following statement ring a bell concerning this matter on this particular date and time? We received a couple of phone calls that you were running around in the road, so I need to see your ID.
What do you mean ring a bell?
Do you recall saying that, making that statement?
I do not.
Okay, do you recall me then telling you it didn't happen? It didn't happen, and this is a First Amendment protected activity, so I don't need no ID.
I don't recall the exact words that you said or
At this point, at this point, if that were the case and you were there responding to phone calls and I told you I was okay, shouldn't you have left at that point? In other words, there would have been no reason to approach me in the first place. I mean, it would be considered.
I observed you commit a civil infraction, so I approached you.
Okay, but are you gonna answer that question?
No, you just said there was no reason to approach you. I said I observed you commit a
The
civil.
question was, at this point, shouldn't you have went on your way?
No, because I had already observed you commit a civil infraction, so I knew I was going to have to ID you to write you a ticket.
So as far as the phone calls, you don't recall, all right? Right, is what you're saying? You don't recall telling me that about the phone calls?
I don't remember our exact conversation.
Okay.
Well, officer, did you go to Eureka and I-75 because of phone calls or simply because of patrol?
Just patrol.
Your Honor, I have an on body cam saying he was there because of a phone call. If so, then once I told you, once I told you I never went in the road since you went on your way. Okay, I'm gonna pass that. How did you feel about me not IDing after you approached me and wanted me to ID over phone calls?
Objection, that misstates what the officer's testimony was.
Rephrase your question.
I'm gonna move on, sir. Okay. At that point, do you recall telling me, well, I seen you go on the road, so you have to ID or I'll take you to jail?
Like I said, I don't remember my exact words.
When you first approached me, you said, we got a couple of calls. And at another point in the video, you said, we received a call. It's on video.
Okay.
Isn't that a contradiction? I don't know if you got two or you got one.
Your Honor, I would object to the form of the question as well as the fact that the officers previously testified he doesn't recall exactly what was said. So I don't know how we can answer the questions about specifically what he said.
Okay, you gotta keep them simple. You know, ask one question at a time. I had a couple of questions I was trying to make a note on, and you asked too many questions. Ask your questions one at a time.
Okay, sir. Basically, at one point you said there's two calls. At one point you said there's one. Isn't that a contradiction? Is my question.
Your Honor,
Okay, I think he did say that he hadn't responded to calls. Now, I'm gonna give you a chance to testify,
Okay, sir, I'm sorry.
and I'll listen to
Frustrated.
that. Okay, go on, ask your next question.
Okay. Okay, minus the phone calls. Once I wouldn't ID. Okay, once I wouldn't ID, you immediately jump, because of the phone calls, you immediately jump to, well, I seen you, so if you don't take or don't ID, I'll take you to jail. Do you recall that statement?
objection, relevant.
I'll take that answer. Did he tell him he's going to jail if he doesn't give you ID?
I don't remember exactly what I said, but I told him I observed him commit civil infraction, so he had to ID himself.
Okay,
You make that statement because you seen me run out in the road. Is that correct?
Well, you didn't run in the road, but you did step in the roadway.
And in doing so, I blocked traffic. Is that correct?
Briefly, yes.
So to be clear here, I'm on the public easement. Cars are sitting to my right, correct?
who is stated to your right?
Cars are,
Cars. Oh,
yeah, yes, sir.
What's the question? Were there cars to his right?
There were cars at the intersection, yes.
Okay,
And nobody hands me anything out of the passenger window, correct?
No, I observed you approach a vehicle while the light was green, and cars couldn't
Did they
move.
pass
That's why I came
Did
up to
they pass it out the driver's side or the passenger side?
you were on the passenger side of the vehicles.
All of a sudden, the cars take off and I run in front of a moving car, is that correct?
No, I didn't say you ran in front of a moving car.
Well, that's what you said in the video, but that's another story. To grab money from driver's side windows of a moving car is that correct? You're saying no, I'm sorry. And yet you ask me how I grab money if I don't go on the road. Do you recall telling me that? How do I grab money if I don't run in the road?
Like I said, I don't remember our exact conversation.
And I told you, I reach out my hand and grab money. I certainly don't run out in front of the car. Do you recall me telling you that?
I don't remember our exact conversation.
So with our conversation in mind as to how I grab the money, why would you ask me that question if you seen me running the road?
What question? I'm sorry, you lost me there.
I'm sorry, sir. He said, how do I grab the money? Do you recall asking me that?
I don't remember our exact conversation.
Okay, well, you got it on videotape.
Yes, sir.
We're
That's
not
what I'm
worried
saying.
yet.
I'm
No,
like,
well,
wow, he doesn't remember anything.
no, let's get the video.
Yeah. I'm sorry here. I'm a little flustered. Please bear with me.
Certainly.
It would be an unnecessary. Okay, I'm going to move on. Why would you approach me? See, Your Honor, I don't know what to do here. I've got video proving that he's lying. Okay, I can prove it right now. All right, and it makes me so mad for him to sit here and do this. You know what I mean? And I'm not allowed to ask questions, and it's like, wow.
Well, you're allowed to ask questions. We got to ask questions that are pertinent and relevant to this case.
And
not
I
to other
understand,
cases.
sir. I understand.
And you know, what difference does it make what he says if in fact you can prove by videotape something different?
Yes, sir.
Chances are the judge, when he hears this, is going to say, hey, I believe the videotape's more than the officer, if that's important.
You said you sat and watched me run in the road, correct?
He's just going to deny that.
Oh, it's in the video. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, well,
You said you sat and watched me run in the road, correct?
I was across the street and I watched you, yeah.
How long did you sit and watch me?
I don't remember an exact time of me sitting there. A couple light cycles.
A couple of lights?
A couple light cycles.
Okay. From exactly where?
Across the intersection.
Across the intersection. So you were on Eureka at the 75 exit and Eureka Road, correct, at that light? And you sit there a couple of light cycles, is what you said, correct?
Yeah, I was going east and then I flipped around west to talk to
Yes, sir. Given the fact that there were no phone calls, okay, I'm sorry. From the moment you turned off the telegraph onto Eureka, you were heading east, is that correct?
When I first seen you, I was heading east on Eureka.
The question, sir, was the moment I have GPS tracking from your vehicle. The moment you turned off of telegraph, you were heading east, correct?
court will take judicial notice that telegraph runs from east to west. And to go from telegraph to 75, it is going east.
No, he's on Eureka Road, sir.
I thought you said on Eureka, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm saying you were headed east on Eureka, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. When you pulled up to the light on Eureka and Seaway, did you go right on Seaway?
Your Honor, I'm just gonna object to the relevance. The officers testified he was at the location where he's alleging this occurred. I don't know what driving he did before has to do with whether or not Mr. Wood committed the violation of the court's hearing.
Time.
I don't even know where Seaway is.
Okay, it's across the street from Home Depot. When you're coming out of Home Depot on Eureka, right across the road, there's Seaway, and you can go down towards Menards. And what we're here talking here, sir, is GPS tracking on his device. Okay, that's why I'm leading up to right now. I want to absolutely prove to you this is a dishonest man.
Sit down, counselor. I don't see how that proves that. And I think it's a little consuming of time that we really don't need. If I said, I believe you, he turned down Seaway or whatever, it still doesn't say that his testimony about being at the intersection and observing you is wrong.
The GPS shows the exact time he was where and how fast he was going. Okay, he's stating when he pulled up to that light, he sat there for a couple of cycles. The GPS says he's lying. Absolutely
you got
says he's
GPS
lying.
besides the video cam.
Yes, sir. I have GPS tracking.
You got it made then. Forget asking him any questions. Just present that as evidence.
Your Honor, take a statement.
My body.
Pardon?
Can I say,
Officer? Go ahead.
there's a light at Seaway that you have to stop at. When you stop at that light, you can see from your vehicle the exit ramp from 75. When I stopped at that light, I seen him and I started watching him. And then you pull up to another light, which is at Eureka 75, and you have to stop at that light as well. So at both stops, I was observing him the entire time. And then I kept going east to flip around under the viaduct. So I had to stop at another light and I was still watching him. So I had to stop at 3 separate lights while I was watching him before I was able to pull up and talk.
Okay.
Did I respond to that?
No, you can when you're sworn under oath.
Okay, so thank you. Okay. Why does your GPS show that you traveled through the light at Eureka and 75 South?
I don't know what my GPS shows. I haven't seen what you're talking about.
He just testified, by the way, Mr. White, that he did go through that light.
He did go through that light.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
he testified that's what he did.
No, he said he sat there for 2 cycles is what he
No,
said.
he said that at this time, at the first time he stopped at the light.
No, just now he said he sat at Seaway. It's a different light.
Hang on. My notes say that he stopped at Seaway,
Yes,
light changed,
right.
proceeded to I-75 in Eureka, stopped at that light. The light changed and he proceeded on under the tunnel.
He actually said he set it 2 cycles on Eureka and 75 South exit is what he said.
Okay. In any case, the question you just asked him, he said the same thing, so let's move on. Sir, you gotta sit down. If you don't stay seated, I can't have you keep interrupting.
I'm trying to facilitate.
I understand that, but you can't, you don't have any right to practice law in the state of Michigan.
what he thinks.
And if you keep arguing with me, this officer's gonna put you in the cell block.
Did you go up the wrong way on a one-way?
No objection to the form. I'm not clear what it is that the question has to.
When and where? Did he ever go the wrong way on a one-way in his entire life? Is that what you're asking?
Up the off ramp, 75 south off ramp. Once he flipped the U, he went up the off ramp the wrong direction. Did you do that, sir?
Objection, relevance.
I'll take the answer.
In order to safely stop and speak to Mr. White, I activated emergency. I conducted a small U-turn on the exit ramp when there was no traffic so I could safely pull up alongside him and talk to him.
Okay.
I'm done with the questions. I want to testify.
Okay. Anything else with this officer?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. Any other witnesses?
No, Your Honor. People rest.
Okay. Mr. White,
Okay, sir. Yes, sir.
raise your right hand. Stand up. You solemnly swear testimony you're about to give is truth, so help you God.
Absolutely, sir.
Okay. Because of everything, you can stay there. You're close to a microphone.
All right, thank you.
Okay, sit down. So, what testimony do you want to put in?
On the above date and time, that's correct. I'm standing on the side of the road on a public easement. I'm flying a sign that says, "Will help and will do odd jobs." I had gotten there literally 25 minutes before that. In the first 10 minutes I was there, two people stopped. One of them handed me $1, one of them handed me a 20. I sit there for about another 15 minutes, not one person stopped. All of a sudden, this officer comes pulling up and he says, and I got body cam, dash cam. He says, "We got a couple of calls that you were running around in the road, so I need to see your ID." I said, "Sir, with all due respect, this is the First Amendment protected right. I don't need to ID." He then says, "Well, I seen you running the road, so if you don't ID, I'm gonna take you to jail." So I gave him my name. He writes me a ticket, which by the way, has no signature on it. And that was another issue that I brought up in one of my motions that really haven't been heard, but that's another story. So he threatens to take me to jail if I don't ID. So I give me the ID and he issues the ticket. Now, the bottom line is, when he first said he pulled up to the light and stepped through 2 cycles and watched me run in the road. The problem with that is, and then he backtracked and said, "No, I seen you at Seaway." You cannot see me from Seaway and Eureka. There's a bunch of reeds in the way. That's an absolute lie, all right? Then when he pulls up, he said, "Well, I sat there for 2 cycles, 2 light cycles. I can prove with this GPS that he traveled right through that light. He had set nowhere." That's why I was asking about him, where he turned and this and that, because not at one point did he set anywhere, period. He was in that area. I tracked him from the time he come off a Telegraph down Eureka. He was going this fast, this fast, this fast. Every minute, every mile, the whole 9 yards. I can absolutely prove he never stopped nowhere, period. And I've got him on dash cam saying everything that I said, and he's sitting up there kind of smug, and it really just irks me, to tell you the truth.
You want to enter that dash cam?
I'm sorry?
Do you want me to see that?
Absolutely. The problem is there's a couple here. One was so redacted, it was like, you know, I filed an appeal and said, "Look, I want unredacted." That's why I asked you about discovery.
What's the other one?
The other one is the same incident, but they put 2 things on it because 3 months later, his brother tried the same thing when I was in Southgate. It's like, but the body cam is redacted. That's why I said, matter of fact, subpoenas.
Well, hang on now. Now, you told me a minute ago, you can prove
Absolutely,
He's lying.
absolutely,
And the reason you can prove that is because of that body cam.
Absolutely.
That.
and the GPS,
And you're about to show me that body cam video.
absolutely.
Okay, show it to me.
Okay, it's right here. How do I do this?
We don't have CDs to put, it has to be on a flash drive.
And I can also show you the GPS, sir, that will show you he's set nowhere. No, sir, all of that's what they sent me. I don't know what to do here.
Well, the problem is this, you know, I have to take the evidence as it's presented to me. And, you know, she brought the officer to court, and she had him testify in front of me under oath.
Okay,
And you brought some video CDs to me that you can't play. It's your responsibility to give me that evidence. And
this is what the department gave me, and that's why I asked you about my motion for
see,
discovery.
you don't care about that piece of disc. What you care about is on that disc.
Yes, sir.
So it's up to you to show me what's on that disc.
This is what they sent me.
Well, show it to me.
So how am I supposed to show it to you if you don't have no way to play it?
You know, I'm not a technician. You gotta, that's a technical problem that you got, not me. So maybe the guy in the audience can tell you how you produce the video on that.
Submit the GPS data. The prosecutor knows the formats around here, therefore it's constructed to not provide the proper format.
If you look at the testimony, all right, he said, I stepped through that a couple of life cycles. I can actually, right now, on paper, prove he's a liar. He moved right through that light. He didn't sit and watch me from nowhere.
Okay,
It didn't happen.
okay,
And this isn't the first encounter I've had with this officer, but he don't seem to remember anything.
okay, Mr. White, apparently you can't show me that. Do you have anything else you'd like to testify to?
Yeah, I've got him on GPS.
Okay? You're gonna have the same problem. You gotta present what's on there to
It's
the.
right here. It's right here.
Well, let me see it.
Right here. He said he sat at that light for 2 cycles and watched me run in the road. That shows how fast he was going through that light and everything else. He didn't sit nowhere. That's a lie. And from Steveway, when he backtracked, when I told you that, he backtracked, said, oh, well, I seen you from Steveway too. You can't see from Steveway. That's a lie. He never stepped anywhere. The whole 10 minutes he was in that area, he went right through everything. Not only that, but he said at Seaway and Eureka. No, he didn't. He pulled into Home Depot area. He didn't sit there. He pulled into Home Depot, turned around. He was down there from 10:37 to 10:42. He pulls back out and takes a left. He didn't sit on Seaway. He pulled into Home Depot and he was down there for 5 minutes and never stopped. Shows exactly how fast he was going the whole 9 yards. He never stopped nowhere.
So I want this back.
Okay, you done?
Yeah, I mean,
Counselor, any cross-examination of this witness?
No, Your Honor, thank you.
Okay, are you, do you have any other witnesses you want to call?
no, sir.
Okay,
I've got body cam, dash cam, reprint, GPS, and
okay. I wish you'd have been able to show me that dash cam. Counselor,
Yes, Your Honor.
Apparently you both rested.
Yes, Your Honor.
Any argument?
Yes, Your Honor. Your Honor, Officer Board's testimony was clear that on December 28th of 2022, that he was at the intersection of Eureka and I-75, that he observed the defendant panhandling in a manner that caused a vehicle that had a green light not to travel through that traffic immediately, that vehicle was delayed based on Mr. White's conduct. And because of that, we would ask you find him responsible.
He supposedly set at the light. That would mean if he's sitting at the light, the cars are traveling, okay? The GPS shows he went through that light. He didn't stop at that light.
Okay, Mr. White, don't rely on that argument. Go ahead, tell me, give me your arguments as to why I shouldn't find you responsible.
Sir, he did not see me step in the road. It shows his GPS tracking, sir.
Mr. White, you know what, really the testimony I'm looking at? You testified that I was standing at Eureka and I-75 with a sign.
Yes, sir.
I got 2 donations from motorists.
Yes, sir. And I didn't move from that spot again for an hour, period. I was on a public easement. I never stepped in the road.
You say you were on a public easement. Where were you?
Yes, sir, on the side of the road. I certainly did not step in the road, and his testimony does not fit the GPS.
Let me see if I understand what you're telling me.
Okay,
You were standing on the side of the road.
yes, sir.
A passenger got out of the car, came over to you and gave you a donation.
No, sir. Pulled up next to me while the light was red as they were waiting there and handed out a passenger side window.
And you never stepped in the road?
No, sir. I reached out my hand and grabbed it. That was the first 10 minutes I was there. 2 people stopped. Nobody stopped for another hour, but at about the 25-minute mark, he comes pulling up, talking about he's seen me running the road. I've been standing there 15 minutes and nobody had seen me do anything because I didn't move. And the GPS tracking doesn't match what he's saying. And I have it on body cam. And he originally started out saying, we got a couple of calls.
Well, Mr. White, first of all, it doesn't make any difference if you're on body cam if you can't show it to them. Now, you got to remember, in the future, you're probably going to get cited with this again. If you're going to get a body cam between now and then, you got to figure out how in the hell do you display that to the court? I want you, you go to a technician, you know, an Apple store, wherever, and ask them.
Okay, so my body cam, dash cam, rear proof then, because you don't have a way to show it, it's not proof.
No.
Okay, so
Because,
That's-
no. It's because you don't have any way to show it. It's not evidence. See, it's not up to the court. It's not up to me to produce evidence.
sir,
It's up to you to produce
which
the
is why I
evidence.
FOIA'd this.
And that's why you gotta have it so you can show it to the court in a manner that I can understand. I can't read that CD from here. So you're gonna have to do that. But it's important for you, if you're gonna continue this panhandling, it's important for you, if you're gonna continue this activity, that you learn how to do that.
Sir, the bottom line is the GPS does not confirm what he's saying. It tells you exactly the opposite. He never sat at that light for 2 cycles. He traveled straight through that light. I can tell you exactly how fast he was going. Now that's evidence. Some person saying, yeah, I seen him do something is not evidence.
Yes, it is.
Well, I've got evidence that refutes what he says, and it's right here and you can see it.
Well, more importantly, it's what you testify to. That's evidence. Oh, here we are. Okay, based on the evidence produced, I have the testimony of the police officer that he saw the defendant enter into the roadway, take money from a vehicle, and blocked the vehicle while the light was green. I have testimony from Mr. White that he did not enter the roadway, that he did only receive 2 donations, and the cars pulled up next to him while he was standing on the side of the road, not in the roadway. I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt. I'm going to dismiss this ticket, but I want you next time.
Yes, sir.
I want that video and I want to see it.
You have my word.
And if you don't know how to do it, I don't want you coming in here.
I understand, sir. Thank
You
you.
find out, you go to a tech store and find out how you produce that.
All right.
Okay,
Your Honor,
you're
may
all
I just-
set.
Can
Thank
I
you,
just
Your Honor.
ask you a quick question?
What's your question?
This is proof, all right? I want to do something about this. My point is, I filed a complaint, but nothing gets done. Can I file charges for perjury?
You know, Mr. White, you're right about certain things. The court's has got limited jurisdiction, and
Yes, sir.
I had jurisdiction to hear your case, but I don't have jurisdiction over this police officer. That's up to the chief of police. I want you to go to the chief of police and you talk to him.
All right, sir. Thank you very much. You're a good man.
Have a good day. Officer, thank you.
I'd like to know it, huh? What are your technical capabilities for playing it aside from a thumb drive? What operating system?
So,
Anytime that the person comes into court, they produce it.
hey, sir, that's dismissed with prejudice. I mean, it's not gonna be brought back up, right?
No.
Okay, okay.
I understand that, but it's gotta be played on your guys' system, so I'm asking what.
Not necessarily, not necessarily. You bring in a laptop and you produce it on the laptop.
Okay.
I think.
All right.
Now that's a judge, not an IT man.
That's a what? I'm
A
sorry.
judge, not an IT man. So I don't know that that's true.
See you in federal
That's
court.
up to you to find out.
Okay.
Okay, go to the Apple store and ask them. Another
Hey,
time.
Lonnie, you have a great day, buddy.
All right. Thank you. You submit your bill. Submit your bill.
Your Honor, I'm sorry. I have a proposed order. I filled it out some time ago, and today I was actually scheduled to go into Judge Shackelford's, all right? It's in the file. I've got a copy of it. I've spent over $500 defending this case with copies and everything else. I have a proposed order I would like you to sign.
I doubt that I will sign it. You can submit it to me and I'll take a look at it. I
Okay,
sincerely doubt after 40 years that I'm gonna sign some proposed order.
I have all the receipts of everything.
I appreciate that, but I think that you're bringing something up that's not in this case. Sue them.
I'm gonna.
Okay.
I just told him I'll see him in federal court.
Court's
Thank you.
ready for you.
So